Hi everybody, welcome to Commerce Corner, the digital commerce interview podcast. After we explored the exciting world of wine e-commerce in episode number 9, in today's anniversary episode, so to say, number 10, I talked to Christian Evers. He's the COO and quasi-CDO of Engel Völkers, which is the largest European real estate broker for especially upscale residential properties. Also a very and quite glamorous world, and most importantly, in this conversation, Christian shares some really interesting insights on how E&V, Engel Völkers, is digitally transforming to be positioned for their challenges ahead. Quite impressive, and I would say ahead of the wave. We had the conversation and also this intro in English and with video, as Christian likes to share this content also in the E&V community around the world. If you like the content and you appreciate the effort behind Commerce Corner, you can support me by sharing or reposting, liking and subscribing to this channel. Now, enough for the intro. On your mics, camera on, set and go. Hi Christian.
Hi.
Good to have you. Thank you very much for the invitation here in your offices. Welcome to Commerce Corner number 10. So it's quite an anniversary, so to say. And happy to have a discussion with you about the question on how can you digitize a real estate broker, especially in your case with Engel Völkers, one of the largest, at least in Europe and Germany, in the premium segment. Before we begin, let's have a quick intro about yourself and introduce what's your current position, your role, and what has been your career so far.
Perfect. So thank you for having me. I'm very flattered to have the 10th edition here. And before that, so my name is Christian Evers, and I'm COO with Engel Völkers, and we're a traditional real estate broker, been around for 40 years now, mostly in residential real estate, 34 countries, so quite international. And that's, by the way, the reason why, despite the fact that you are German and I am, we are having this interview in English because I would like to share it with my colleagues in 34 countries, and that is quite more the case when we do it in English.
And that goes out also to the audience of Commerce Corner, which is used to having these talks and conversations usually in German. And although we're both German natives, we decided, or based on your recommendation, to have this conversation in English for your audiences as well. So happy to do that. And before coming to Engel Völkers, as you said, you were the Chief Operating Officer, COO, is that correct?
Yes.
Responsible for operations. Before that, what's been your career track so far?
Well, before that, I've been with a tour operator, Thomas Cook. Some of you might know that company, and being responsible for sales and marketing. Before that, I had 7 years in consulting. My last position there was with Boston Consulting Group, and that's pretty much it. So.
Okay.
And now maybe what does COO mean? In our case, I'm responsible for the platform of Engel Völkers, everything that we provide for our agents and license partners, starting from marketing, digital tools, IT infrastructure, and we also have an academy where we train people. Last year, to give you a number, 3,500 people have been trained through our own academy. Well, we have a publishing house where we have a magazine with around 300,000 copies that we issue every quarter in 6 languages. So quite a lot of stuff that we cover for our agents and brokers.
Quite a lot on your plate. So already talking about a bit of the services that you have for your partners, brokers, and different offices. But before we get there, for those out there listening or watching who are not so familiar with the real estate market overall, and better understanding what is the business like, what are the mechanics, you are kind of, I would say, maybe a middleman between the seller and the buyer side.
Exactly.
And can you give us a bit more insight into how that market works, who does what?
Yeah. So Engel Völkers covers both sides, or both main sides of the real estate brokerage business, which is on the one hand residential, which represents like 80% of our business. So houses and for living purposes. And the other 20% is commercial real estate, which then means multifamily houses for investment, industrial retail, and stuff like that. So very much different focus, but we are amongst the largest residential or the largest residential broker in Europe.
Overall in Europe, okay.
Yeah.
And what different, so to say, business models do you have? Are you the owner or the operator of the different offices that you have around the world, or is it rather a franchise model? Can you help us understanding that business a bit better?
We're represented in 34 countries right now with around 800 offices, most of which are franchise, but we also have a different owned operations arm. And out of our 10,000 people that we have with an E&V business card right now, 1,500 are our owned operations, represented in something that we called metropolitan market centers. We have 8 of them. Big real estate powerhouses in Rome, Madrid, Barcelona, Valencia, Dubai, New York, places like that. So big metropolitan areas, Paris.
Where you would like to own the entire operations by yourselves?
We do, yes.
Yes, okay. And just to make it very blunt, so if I wanted to open an Engel & Völkers office, theoretically I could, if I probably live up to the standards and the requirements, and so they would, whoever wants and can apply, there's some sort of process, and then I get the support of the organization, I get all the material, the access, etc., and then I probably pay some sort of a royalty to Engel & Völkers. Is that correct?
Exactly. So first of all, we have to double check whether in the area you want to operate there's a vacant license. So you being then the license partner covering that area, and we double check, of course, if you're capable, check with you future plans, make clear things like investment, team building, everything like that. But yes, we have a lot of also career changers now being successful license partners for us, being now in real estate brokerage. And yes, of course, you get our platform, and on the other hand, you have then to share your revenues with us, meaning paying royalties to the company.
Is that usually performance-based, or is there a fixed fee?
Most of it is performance-based.
Okay, so I only pay if I have business.
Exactly.
More or less. Okay, understood. And when looking at the market overall, and I'm not an expert, so hopefully then you can answer this question. What's your competition? And I know a few brands, but I think they are rather located in the commercial real estate area, such as what's it called, JLL or CBRA, so far. But who is really your competition? Or is it like in Germany, ImmoScout, for example, is a platform where tenants, buyers, sellers get together? What's your competition?
Well, so a lot of questions now. So the CBREs and the JLLs and so are really on the commercial side of the business. There are 5, 6, 7 big global players. You named some of them. We are quite a challenger for them in the German market. But besides that, in international markets, it is not much of our business in the commercial business. But talking about residential real estate, most of the markets, besides of the American market, US market, it's a very fragmented market. So there's a lot of small chains, local champions, so a lot of players that you all know, and having local expertise and being expert in their micro markets. But there's little competition when we talk about bigger international players that have the network that we have. And the higher you get in the segments, the more likely or the less likely it is that you sell property in your very neighborhood. So the more an international network is needed.
Okay, so let's say you and I wanted to open an office. We would call it Evers and Farsi, ENF, not E&V.
Yeah.
What's our disadvantage, or what would be the advantage to go with E&V instead of E&F. So
Well,
working. So I have access to probably what? The technology infrastructure, sell side, buy side.
Yeah, let me give you 3 examples. So the first thing that is very important, mostly on the seller side, is the brand itself, because the brand, the brand suggests that you are a professional player, being able and capable of making the transaction really happen. The second thing is, like you said, the technical infrastructure and everything that is behind that. Well, that costs a lot of money, and to be on top of that and really have a competitive advantage, most of the smaller local players can't simply afford. And the third thing is, maybe not the least important one, the bigger network. So if we hire an agent in our office, let's say in Barcelona, from day one on, he or she can sell and participate in the stock that we have, 3,500 properties on sale in Barcelona right now. So the property itself being the bottleneck in most of the markets, to be then able to sell a property, in the best case exclusively for the client, you have to work a lot and convince people to give the property to you in your hands, to sell it to somebody else. So that takes quite a while for any agent to acquire those properties, to build stock. Whereas when you join our network, you have thousands and thousands of properties from day one that you can sell to other clients.
So would that mean that the most challenging part of your business is less the sell side, meaning finding buyers, but rather the supply side, finding the properties and being the one representing the properties into the market?
In most of the markets, so it's not easy to generalize, but in most of the markets that's the case. Let's say in Hamburg, where we are right now, if you say in a very frequented area of the city, and you say, I want to buy a 2-bedroom apartment with 100 square meters in a nice location, then most probably we have some more clients that are searching for the same kind of property. So whereas the sell side, so the supply side, is kind of limited. So in areas like this, or in most metropolitan areas, the supply side is really the bottleneck. Whereas in markets that we call, for example, second home markets, let's say in the Mediterranean, Côte d'Azur, Mallorca, you name it, it's the other way around. So buyers are the bottleneck, whereas you have on the other side more supply than you have buyers.
Understood. Okay, and then getting really to the heart of our conversation today, when you say you are also responsible for the digitization efforts of your company or of this organization, what's really at core? What is it that you're digitizing? Because I think most of it is not so visible outside for somebody who has no interference with the market. So what does digitization mean for you, and what are you doing there?
Yeah. So when I came here, I saw a lot of investment and efforts going into what they call prop tech. So after fintech and insurtech, it's prop tech that people are
property, or what's
property
that?
tech.
Yeah. Okay.
So in real estate technology, where startups are attracting money, venture capitalists, and so on. So you see a lot of movement from, let's say, 2014 on. So obviously this is an attractive market for people who are trying to digitize or disrupt, whatever that means, the business, because there's the pie is big, and they want to have a piece of the pie. So anyways, with all the digital developments that we see that have affected a lot of industries and cut out the middleman, be it in, let's say, insurance sales, or let's say in used car sales or something like that. I was wondering, what does that mean? And I'm still obviously in my daily job thinking about this. What does that mean for us? How will real estate brokerage look like in 2, in 5, in 10 years from now? So obviously, there are things, cultural and technical developments that we have in our society that won't pass by real estate brokerage. So it is clear that everybody is much more digital, is much more mobile, wants to have much more flexibility, uses tools that makes people more collaborative, more efficient, and all of that. So if we look at the value chain that we provide as a service company, bringing together sellers and buyers and offering a certain value and a service to find those, to service those, to facilitate the sale, to negotiate, we try to look at where are the various levers where we can make this service better, faster, more intelligent, more reliable, less hassle, and so forth. Well, obviously that's a big topic, but this is what we're trying to do. One thing that I'm very much convinced, and which I'm very much convinced of, is what we're not talking about is to cut out the agent, to replace people by machines. So I'm pretty sure that in most of the times, real estate transactions need human beings. Why? Because real estate is never a commodity, because one house or one apartment doesn't look like the other one. So it's very individual. Second thing is real estate transactions, at least in the residential area, are very emotional. You are looking for a place to live for you, your family, your kids. And also it is most of the times the biggest investment that you have in your lifetime. So no matter in which segment you operate or you search, it's a big investment. So the fee that you have to pay for somebody who helps you facilitating this complicated, big decision compared to what the investment is very small. So, and yeah, and there's not only there's also emotional things involved. I mean, somebody who wants to sell wants to achieve the highest possible price very quickly. Wants to get rid of hassle and all the paperwork and maybe legal pitfalls that might be around the corner. On the buyer side, you want to have the right property. You're searching for the property. And most of the people have very specific, very concrete desires, needs, and you have to bring together both sides and match those. So you have to have a portfolio on the one hand, and you have to have matching clients on the other hand, and bring them together. Cutting out the middleman doesn't make too much sense, but making the middleman more efficient, smarter, and providing a better service is what we want to do.
Okay, but still, would you agree that most of, at least looking at it from the buyer side, if I wanted to buy some residential property, especially here in our hometown, Hamburg, it's quite an investment. And what is it today? It's like 6% the fee that you usually pay to a real estate broker. That's quite some money if you look at the prices, etc. So would you still not agree that from a buyer side, you would probably like to cut out the middleman?
Well, of course you do, but on the other hand, I mean, there's a risk of not finding the right thing, right? So I'd say for me personally, I would be happy to pay that fee if that someone gets me into the right property, because the risk of not getting the right property is much higher than paying a certain fee, which, by the way, differs very much locally, so, and splits sometimes between buyers and sellers, and sometimes only buyer pays. So, well, but let's say also if you try to search for a holiday home on Mallorca, for example, you want to have a very nice little finca. Well, you need somebody to help you search the market and really tell you about neighborhoods, infrastructure, maybe risks, local law, which is also true for real estate here. You might want to know, is there something, what is the neighborhood like? Is there any plans, things that are being built in the next couple of years from now? Where's the next school? I mean, yes, you have things on the internet, we all know, that you can search, and there's a lot more transparency today than there has been before. But like I said, since every property is very much individual, human intelligent advice is very much needed by most of the people.
Understood. So coming back to the question overall, you said digitization, there was a lot going on when you came here 2 years, 3 years ago, that there was a lot of investments still going on, etc. But where do you really change something? Can you make examples? Because if I look on your website, it's probably not the, let's say, lighthouse project that you built. The second, in Germany, it would be ImmoScout, whatever it is in the other countries, the second platform for real estate sales, right? There's probably a lot happening underneath the hood, behind the scenes, that you are digitizing. Or is it a mindset thing? Is it a technology thing? What is it that you're doing in digitization?
Well, first of all, you mentioned ImmoScout, so a platform, twice. You have those portals, real estate portals, you have it in any country. Well, this is not very competition. It is a place where people search and find properties we also advertise, right? So they have most of the time the search customers on their websites. It's one major source where people look for market transparency and to find matching property. Well, for us, it's a source of leads. People find our stock there, contact us, and then getting into touch with our people and visit those properties and hopefully buy it. But on the other hand, when you mention our website, we tripled the leads that we get through our own websites over the last 2 years. So right now there's globally, it's more than 300,000 leads. So people that really get in contact with us and leaving their contact data and want to sell or buy property. So that's quite a bit, also compared to the portals. Well, that is one thing that we are improving.
So the customer interface, meaning the website or wherever you are contacting them on digital interfaces.
Yeah, but this is more or less basic. Not that it's easy, but this is what everybody has to do. That doesn't really have something to do with digital transformation to have a proper website.
Yes.
But, well, you have to do it and you want to do it. So, like you said, what are you changing? And all the people that are listening and all the companies and all the managers, they're talking about more or less the same things. It is not only about building an app or a website and then everything is digital now. It is a lot of things. So you have to be able and willing to challenge more or less everything that you do, including people, culture, strategy. Like, you cannot be traditional in everything you do, but want to have agile development team. Why not? Because processes are different, people are different, their culture is different, their expectation towards the workplace is different. So if you want to in-house build technology that people in-house use, you have to change a lot of things. Well, we build technology right now. Let me make an example. So let's say we have a cool and clever app for our B2B clientele, our agents. We have to understand their business. What is their need? What is their problem? Why do they need a piece of technology right now? And what does it help them? So if we then build the right piece of software, technology, whatever, we have then to let them know. So there's a communication part. And then they have to understand, why do I have to use it? Or what is the benefit of using this? How does it make me better? That's the what's in for me part. So there's well, you call it marketing or explanation or whatever. And then there's the training part, because they are not all digital natives, or there's a lot of people who haven't been in touch too much with modern technology, right? They're maybe traditional sales profiles, and yes, they have their smartphone and they have their computer, but working with collaborative tools using Google G Suite or something like that, or anything that we build, you have to train them. So digitization for me means much more, and I think for the most people, than only building technology, but there's a lot of change management needed inside your company and with the people who work for you, in our case, our agents and brokers.
Very interesting. So can we just stay with that example? And you were talking about this sort of app. Is that something you have built already, or is that something you're thinking about? Is that something you can talk about? And if so, is it something that you have already live, the B2B app that you were referring to, or was it just an example?
Like I said, it's not one B2B app, but it's an entire platform where people work on. So, and it's, you know better than I do, that this is never finished. And that's one thing that also management has to understand. Like you said, when somebody asks you, the CFO or any kind of
usually the
manager,
CFO.
the CFO will ask a lot of questions, but it's okay to do so, and says, is this piece of technology ready? Then the digital person would say, what does ready mean? I mean, ready in the sense of we don't touch it anymore. That was more or less yesterday, because there is, continuous development, refinement, making it better, testing it, and then bringing it to the next level. So there is no ready anymore. This is also when our users then, which are in their private life, are very much used to and accustomed to updates coming through their mobile phone every day. But when there is one feature missing in their new B2B app from Engel Völkers, they say, well, that product is not ready yet because it is not able to do this and that. So there's a lot of education and bringing people on the same level and understanding of digitization and saying, okay, this is an ongoing process, and we are better tomorrow than we are now, and we need you and your data, and it's a continuous cycle of improving your platform.
Okay.
Yeah. And yes, there's something in place right now. It's not only on paper. So yes, we are building and shipping software. Yes, all the time.
And that's really probably one of the pillars of your digitization efforts. So if I understand correctly, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but there seems to be some sort of a back-end infrastructure where all the information come together, and then there's some interfaces like an app or other interfaces that your agents can use that help them ease their daily life. Instead of walking around with paper and booklets, they can probably, I don't know, but take pictures of their residential properties, or even not that, maybe other use cases. And you built that in-house, you said?
Yes. So yes and no. So, well, again, two questions. Do we build it in-house or with third-party vendors? Both. Up to now, we had a lot of software development being done by third-party vendors, and we are very proud of having very good partners that with us for a long time now.
Can you name them?
Well, yes. One is Hamburg-based. It's called Freiheit.com. Freiheit, German word for freedom. Very experienced team in software development, and we have people who build the My Taxi app in Germany, so something like a Uber or Lyft in Germany, something like that, and they are affiliated to us. We build a technology or software development team with them together in Barcelona. So we have very experienced people around us, but also because there's so much work to do and very at the core of what we do. So we, in addition to that, now have started to build an in-house development team with, product owners, iOS and Android developers, front-end, back-end, full-stack developers, UI, UX experts, and all of those people that all the companies want to have right now. Well, and it's quite, let's say, almost one third of our headquarter stuff is somewhat related to tech.
How many would that be?
Well, it's now, we have about 100 tech people here, and
100 tech talents here where we are right now in Hamburg, in the office.
Exactly, including digital marketing, content, you name it, and also software developers and people engineers, platform engineers, cloud engineers, like all sorts of...
How many did you have 5 years ago or 3 years ago?
Well,
when you say you have 100 now, was that always the case? And that was rather the IT department from a legacy perspective, or is that something that you built newly?
Yeah, so it was a lot less, and over the last, let's say, 3 to 4 years, at least since I'm here, we changed a lot and we added a lot of people and we do a lot more things. And there's currently, well, it might sound like a small number, but it's like 35, I guess, open tech positions right now for this year. Well, for a medium-sized company, for us, we have like 500 something people in the headquarter and 10,000 around the world. It's quite a number and quite an investment. So
is that a recruiting message goes out to the market? So anyone
yes, please.
Who is interested in working in real estate and has some tech skills, they can contact me, Christian, Engel Völkers directly. And
now we only, of course, want to have top talents, but like you and I know, it's not easy to get those people and attract to a real estate broker, which most people don't believe or think that this is a cool tech place to work for. So we have to put a lot of effort in advertising this, going to conferences, to tech conferences, speaking there, and having a tech blog and doing things like we do now.
Cool.
So that to make people understand there is something here to do and to change. You can be part of the change, by the way, with a player who will be able next month to pay your paycheck. So we combine the good and the good parts.
There's other tech companies out there as well who pay paychecks, but
I know. But
when I see your offers, I trust that in your case,
that works. But what for me, this is a startup within a legacy company. Like, we're a traditional 40-year-old company, but the spirit here has always been very entrepreneurial, very changing things, and well, disruption is such a buzzword right now, but really questioning, are we doing the right thing right now, and willing to take actions. And this is one part of it. And I'm very glad that our CEO and founder, Christian Völkers, is, after 40 years being successful in the business, still is willing and able to question this. Let me give you an example. When I came here 4 years ago, we were about 5,000 people. Now we doubled this, after being 40 years in the market. So
just to correct you, so not to correct you, but to make it clear, you said earlier you're here 500 or overall the company, but 5,000, that's including all your franchise partners, or is
exactly
that,
all people who have a business card of Engel Völkers, mainly agents and brokers around the world. So all of us together were like 5,000 3 or 4 years ago, and now we surpassed the 10,000 people figure just recently. So
in 4 years?
In 4 years we doubled, which is, well, for this industry and for not being Google or Facebook, being in a traditional industry, that's quite surprising. And money-wise also, we are having growth figures right now for the last couple of years, like 20-30% each year. And
that's also public, right? I saw it at least on your website. Your revenue is round about, what, 700 million it was last year, 2017?
In dollars, yeah, US dollars.
US dollars.
In euros, it's 600 million, yeah.
But then it was doubled also, I think it was from 2013, 14 somewhat, right? Yeah, quite an impressive ride.
Quite some momentum here.
There is, but coming back to the digital teams, and it sounds very much like real tech organizations. You seem to have product teams with all the different roles and profiles there. And just walking through the office here, it still kind of breathes this, let's say, culture of a well-established traditional player out of Hamburg, Hanseatic, whatever you want to call it. I didn't see the other flow where you said the tech teams are, but was there some sort of a stretch for the organization when bringing in this momentum, these changes, also maybe the people who have a different mindset and different expectations as to how to come to work, when to work, how to work, etc.?
I mean, that's the most fun part of my job, to be honest.
The fun part, okay.
There's a lot of fun parts here, not to only advertise this as a working place, but well, that's a challenge for a legacy company. You know, there is a culture, and it's not only true for us, but for all legacy companies. There is a culture. In this case, it's very traditional, like you said, Hanseatic. It's very upscale. It's it's a lot of it's traditional, high end. It's not. You know, it's not about only wearing a tie, but also wearing the right tie. Well, you see that I don't wear a tie today.
I was about to say.
Yeah, exactly.
And I don't either.
And that's one part of the change. Not that it's a big achievement to not wear a tie, but it's about changing and questioning things that have been right for the last 40 years. And our people in the field, like the agents and so, they still wear a tie and they still wear nice suits and something like that. Why? Because it fits the role. I mean, from a luxury real estate broker, you would expect to somewhat look professional in that sense. But if you hire a cloud engineer, I mean, obviously that's a different culture, without judging and saying the one is better than the other, but it's a different culture with different expectations in many respects. Talking about working hours, well, most of tech profiles don't like 9-to-5 jobs. Well, some of them work, it's a lot about ownership and it's a lot about intrinsic motivation. So you see those people working at night or weekends, but then they come late or they, you know, and this is a lot result driven. And well, obviously they don't wear suits and ties, and obviously their workplace looks different like many traditional workplaces. So the beauty here and the challenge at the same time is combining these aspects of culture and new working atmosphere with traditional aspects, and being able, and that's not an easy part, to combine different cultures or subcultures under one umbrella, where at the same time all of them working for the same goal, for the same strategy. And that's really a beauty to see that this works. It's a lot of work to establish this, and it's a lot of talking and a lot of management meetings and a lot of people work. But at the end, it is fun to see a full stack developer in his hoodie being able to talk to Christian Völkers in a very traditional and most of the time expensive suit.
With a tie.
With a tie.
Still.
Well, no. I see him sometimes taking this tie off like I do today. Okay. But it's not about the tie.
Okay, looking at it from the industries that I have seen, where digitization efforts are taking place in rather bigger organizations, they, in many cases, would say, we can't do that or somehow merge that in-house at the same location. We need to do it somewhere far away, get the right talent, and have that kind of separation to let them do their work and not to be, so to say, slowed down by a legacy organization that doesn't, let's say, live that same culture. Yet, in your case, as far as I understood, you have that merged at the same location, somehow together at the same spot. What was your reasoning behind that? Or was there any reasoning where you thought, okay, this might be better than the other way?
Well, obviously, or not surprisingly, we discussed this. Why don't we rent loft space somewhere in a fancy tech environment and put them there?
You would have access to the lofts probably, I would
Yeah, maybe, that's true. But by intention, we don't do this. Why? Because we think it's more beneficial if those two cultures learn from each other. So tech people understand real estate brokerage, and real estate brokerage more or less understand a little bit what tech people have. Because we are all in one company and we're all pursuing one goal. And the technology that we build is most of the times for our agents and brokers. So if those tech people don't understand the people they build the technology for, well, what's then the purpose and how successful can that be? And talking about these offices, we right now at this moment we are building our new headquarters, very fancy headquarters in the new Hamburg
Doesn't surprise me.
Hafen City, but it will be a very new and modern workplace design and architecture inside. So people working, have flexible working places, being able to group together, like you know it, and being, a lot of relax areas, fun areas. So, well, we're evolving also in that respect.
Interesting. And in terms of your really organizational chart, your org chart.
Yes.
You are the COO. Are these developments all happening in your area? Is it cross-functional? Do you have a chief digital officer? What's the roles and how do they report?
Well, we don't have a chief digital officer. That's me. More.
You just got a new title on your business card.
Yeah, well, titles or not. It's about bringing together good teams. That sounds like also very, very stressed, all of this, and sounds like buzzwords, but really it is not. It's about whatever your title is, and whatever it's about bringing together talented people that pursue one goal. And below, or in my organization, my direct reports, if you want to call it so, there's a lot of expertise that we grew inside and also brought in from the outside over time. For example, the CTO that we just hired a year ago is a very experienced software engineer and architect from Zalando. US people know Zappos, or real estate shoe retailer. Started out with shoes, but now doing a lot more.
Selling something around 4 billion per year, just for those.
Yeah, so
to put that into perspective.
So big fashion retailer, yes. One of the new kids on the block, like now being a big company as well. But and he now brings in outside perspective and experience that really helps us building a new culture, taking it to the next level. So combining in-house people with people who we hired from the outside of Engel Völkers is a very good strategy right now, which works very well. And by the way, very international. Tech talent right now, you don't hire only around the corner. So I'm very happy and proud of that we are integrating people from all around the world. We just hired somebody from St. Petersburg. We just hired somebody from Nice, who's originally from Tunisia. We hired a Brazilian guy working in Dublin. So also in our tech department, they don't talk German anymore. It's the language is English. Why? Because the team is so international, and that's very, very cool to see, bringing all those talented people together.
Very interesting and quite, let's say, impressive that you, as a traditional company that probably doesn't really feel a pressure to do so, is doing that. Or let me put it in other words, really a question: what's the motivation behind it? Usually there's people who do it out of ambition, or there's others who do it out of, let's say, paranoia because they believe that something will happen if they don't do it. Usually there's no business case behind it, right? So would that reflect also, or one of those two motivations, the one you had when you decided to go this route?
Well, I had a talk to somebody in the US, and he said, well, being in the digital world and in the Silicon Valley, talking to me, and he said, well, and he liked the fact that we don't do our initiatives out of being threatened by somebody else, but like voluntarily, quite early. And that's really a good thing, not acting out of fear, but like you said, out of ambition. And this has always been part of this company. We're we are not a public company. We are a privately held company, and the founder and majority shareholder, Christian Völkers, his nature is, well, he comes around with new ideas, disrupting ideas, more or less every day, which is not all of the times very easy. But this is the spirit that we have here, people trying to achieve the next level and being better than yesterday. Well, even though we're doing quite some business, but you know, if you, well, if you don't take it to the next level, somebody else does, and that's not a situation that we want to face.
Would that be correct to say you were not hired to, let's say, realize this agenda, but you came here and you developed this agenda yourself? Or well, were you hired with that, let's say, mandate to bring in the digitization to Engel Völkers?
No, actually okay. Not. Well, yes and no, but not to that extent that we have right now. But since me being here, we all together in a management team or team as a whole developed this this agenda, obviously somewhat driven by me, but it's not only me acting.
The question that I would have is, did you need to convince your board or your, let's say, colleagues within the board, or did you have that, let's say, entrepreneurial spirit all the time where they said, do it, we believe it? Or was there, you know, a lot of, well, because, you know, in traditional organizations, it's sometimes a bit challenging to convince an organization that has worked with other, let's say, approaches?
Well, so it was easy to convince people because it's kind of common sense that digitization, digital things play a role in our lives, and obviously also for Engel Völkers. So, well, but yes, you have to convince people and stakeholders putting money into this, giving you resources, focusing on this, not doing other things instead. Well, yes, because it's not the only way of growing our business. Talking about digitalization, I mean, you know, open 3 new offices or so, owned operations, which also costs a lot of money, would be maybe also a good way to do so. But so you were always, well, you are always in discussions where your resources are best allocated, right? So, and well, you have to have good arguments, but yeah, it worked out very well so far.
It seems to, and the reason I'm asking is because a lot of boards in rather traditional organizations might want to see a business case, right? Say, how much do I invest? How much do I get out of it? Probably building a new office or opening a new office is a clear business case because there's so much experience and so many data and history. But going this digital way and route and all the investments that come with it, you said you're hiring, you have already 100 tech people, 30 more coming, etc. So there's quite a lot of money involved as well. And that was the reason for the question, but you quite clearly answered that you had some discussions and in the end, that was a clear go, and that's where you are right now, right?
Yes, but it's a constant, ongoing discussions and a discussion. And most of the times, I mean, it's not. You don't sit here making a plan, whether it's a business plan or operational plan or both of it, and not rethinking this over time. I mean, this happens all the time, not only in digital businesses or in digitization efforts. It's well, it's constant monitoring and improvement and saying what is the next step then. But well, yes, you have to have goals, and well, for us, it's about, you can boil it down to more or less 3 things. So it's the number of agents that we have, it's the productivity per single agent that we have, and the costs that incur with running this organization. So, and we constantly ask ourselves, which of those factors are impacted by digitalization in what respect? Well, and yes, obviously, if you invest that much money, you have to have some sense of what is coming out of it.
Interesting. Okay. And you yourself are, let's say, with all due respect, but not the digital native who has done his entire career in digital projects, but you came here with this vision. And where do you get your personal let's say, inspiration, guidance? You said there's somebody you talk to in the Silicon Valley, and well, as we know each other privately as well, I know that you are traveling a lot into that direction. So can you share a bit about that? How do you stay up to date in terms of what's the trends, what's the ideas, approaches, etc.?
That's what I said. I mean, you don't have to know everything yourself. You have to, and there's many ways of being successful, but I think one of them is to bring together the right people with the right talent, and manage them and have a vision and drive them and putting pieces together. And obviously, yes, there are some people, some of which I named, third-party vendors, my team, but also some people I trust and like to talk to and get inspiration from, one of which I met in Palo Alto. I did one of the tourist tours, like a manager going to Silicon Valley and
the German C-level.
German,
goes there.
Okay. So a German silverback traditional guy going to Silicon Valley. But I met this guy there, and he's a Silicon Valley veteran, looking exactly like what you think he looks like, and very, very.
Can you share the name, or is that confidential?
Well, no, it's not. His name is Geoff Baum, and very trusted advisor, and playing back and forth with him and getting inspiration. So people like that are very helpful to, get an outside-in perspective. Like you and I, we were consultants. That was the business, like bringing in a different perspective. Asking the right questions, bringing you together with the right people. And over the last couple of years, I've really met some very interesting people in that field, and you always have to take the best out of it and use it for your own purpose, right? Mm-hmm.
Is there any best practice in your industry when you look at it from a global perspective?
Well, that's a good question. Like I said, there is not too much, at least visible efforts or examples here in Germany or in Europe that I really see. There are some, and not everybody is lazy and stupid, but so there's also other people who have smart teams, I'm sure. Well, there's some prominent examples in the US. Why are they prominent? Because they raise a lot of money.
Who's that?
One of which is Compass. They're called Compass. They just raised $750 million. What they really are is a traditional brokerage, not being around for too long, 4 years right now.
Did you invest?
Well, no, it's still only, it's not a public company. So, but there's a lot of money pouring in some of those guys. And what I like about them is the term that they created. Maybe they didn't, but they claim it for them, and they call what they do tech-enabled brokerage. And that's exactly what I think what it is, and what is also true for us. We build tech to enable the brokers, and that's the good combination, I guess.
Okay.
There's
so Compass would be one.
Compass would be one, and another one is Redfin. They just went public last summer, somewhat more or less the same. So combining tech with real estate brokerage is what they are, making some noise right now in the US market.
Very cool, very, very interesting, especially from me as an outsider, but hearing a lot of analogies and comparable situations to others in the industry where we work with, especially fashion and retailers, etc. But let's step back a bit, and I would like to get to know...
Have I named you as a trusted advisor?
No, this is confidential. This is confidential. But getting to know you better, I mean, we know each other quite well, and kind of a disclaimer, we got to know each other when working at BCG quite some time ago and are friends, but also for the audience to really understand who are the people driving these developments. So there's a specific format that we have. It's called Commerce Corner 15. I've been trying this for the past 2 episodes, and I would like to do that with you as well, if you're willing, and you already agreed, so there's no way out here, and we're on record already. So, shall we get going?
Yes.
Let's do it.
And now, the Commerce Corner 15, the Q&A ping pong we play with every guest.
First question, iOS or Android?
iOS.
Smartphone or tablet?
Smartphone.
When you communicate, do you prefer typing or talking?
More talking.
Artificial intelligence, hope or threat?
Hope.
Blockchain and cryptocurrencies, hype or real disruptor?
Disruptor.
What should your smartphone be able to do that it is not yet?
Payment.
What was your biggest triumph or success? And that can be professional, privately, whatever.
What was my?
Your biggest success, your triumph.
Still working on it.
Very good. good approach. What was your most impactful professional lesson learned?
When I started my first traineeship after school, somebody at that time in experienced insurance broker said, boy, if you always do a little more than people expect from you, you're going to have a career. Well,
there you go.
Worked quite
What would
okay.
be your dream job if you had to change your current profession tomorrow?
Being a ranger in South Africa or being a singer on a cruise ship in the Caribbean.
And there's a story behind that as well. We might want to share that. But let's continue. Number 10, best purchase below 100 euro.
My Uniqlo windbreaker, which keeps me warm under my suit in the Hamburg winter.
Oh, wow. Great. A skill of yours that not everyone is aware of.
Well, I'm quite good at mental calculating.
Okay. What's your favorite app on your smartphone?
Well, still WhatsApp.
What place or specific location are you most creative?
On a plane.
Apart from Jeff Bezos, because he's named twice already, who's the most inspiring personality in the digital sphere for you? And you just named one, could be that or somebody else.
Sorry, I don't know.
What's the first thing you read in the morning?
Well, email, WhatsApp, sometimes Instagram.
Very good.
Reading Instagram, you know.
Watching. Got it. Okay. Thank you for that.
And now, back to the interview.
Getting back to the rather normal rhythm here. And as we already shared, we know each other quite well. And there's a quite, let's say, interesting and cool story about how you were recruited. Can you share that and tell us a bit more when you were recruited to Engel Völkers?
Well, I hope I don't disrupt my own career right now, but well, being let's make it short. Being responsible for sales in the travel industry, I held a conference and being on stage, and my microphone, like the one that you have in your ear, the small ones, broke, and well, so I had to as a bridge that situation when somebody tried to fix it, and then it came to my mind talking about people who wear, what's that called, braces? Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Braces, I think.
Braces, yeah. Well, because that reminded
for your teeth, right?
Yeah, exactly. So that because it reminded me of the people who have those around the neck braces, which I always were very sorry for, and this situation looked like somebody fixing those. Well, so I thought it was funny, and the people thought it was funny. And when I finished that speech there, I went off stage, and some guy, which is a consultant also to Engel Völkers, he approached me and said, well, that was kind of a good speech. We have to talk, and I have to introduce you to Engel Völkers and to Christian Völkers, and that's when the thing started. So totally.
So your elevator pitch was to bridge that situation where the microphone broke, and you were quite entertaining at that moment. And that's for sure that there were some situations where you were able to entertain the crowd. I hope that works today as well. When looking at this world of real estate, especially in your segment, you are at the top end, I would say, right? You have, and I looked it up on your website, so it's public, there's properties for up to 100 million dollars, I think, right, in the Hamptons or what have you. It sounds like a very glamorous world, etc. You need to get to talk to the buyers, the sellers, etc. And there's also events where you do that, correct? And you host one yourself. Can you share a bit about that yourself?
Well, not myself, but
your company.
Like Christian Völkers on his private property on Mallorca. He likes to play polo, which very much fits our brand, and he hosts polo party on his polo tournament on his private property or estate, and with about 800 people most of the times, and that's quite
every year.
Well, yes, most of them, yeah. This year we skip it because we have this opening of our new headquarters at the same time. So, well, yes, but almost every year, and this is quite a sophisticated, nice, fun party to be at, meeting really good people.
Okay. And do you have any favorite books that you would always recommend because they had such an impact on yourself?
Well, I can tell you what I read now, which is Laszlo Bock. It's a former Google SVP of people, and it's called Work Rules, where they describe some new approaches to HR and dealing with people. And the other one is Milton Friedman impressed me very much with this book, Capitalism and Freedom.
Okay. Quite some heavy stuff, I believe.
Well, it's not, but you know.
And looking at your management style or your techniques, what would be, let's say, your number one priority or mantra when looking at your professional style?
To trust people. And if you don't trust the people you hire, you shouldn't have hired them in the first place. So, and it's easier to trust people if you hired people that are better than you are in what they do. So, this is
meaning that you always try to hire better people than yourself?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that probably should be the way in many cases, but it obviously isn't always the case everywhere. How do you try to find out if they are better than you?
Well, obviously looking at their track record, but it's also about personal fit and what they can bring to the organization. If I hire somebody for, let's say, digital marketing, I have some knowledge of digital marketing, but I want to have people that are better at this than I am, or a communications manager, or a marketeer, or you name it. Well, it's not only about having specialists, but the full package in the sense of they know their stuff, they fit the team, and they're being a good personality is most of the times a good thing to look at.
So having 35 or what open vacancies out there, probably on your website, I would believe you have an HR segment. Again, anyone interested working here at this organization.
Nice place to work at, I promise.
Very good. Okay. Thank you very, very much. This was quite an interesting ride, and wishing you all the best. Good of luck for the next years and projects. Thank you, Christian.
Thank you very much, Aman.
Thank you.